12 months ago, we partnered with Hort Innovation to deliver a project to focus on agrochemicals. The project's jointly funded by the 4 funds there, the Veg Fund, the Onion Fund and the 2 potato funds. There's some very formal words there on the screen. Look, in a nutshell, just to be very brief, just want to make sure the growers have access to the right chemistry to protect against the pest, disease and weeds, and focusing not necessarily just on this generation, but for the next generation of growers coming through. So, there's a slide there. Anyway, look, everyone understands here that crop protection is a much bigger picture than chemistry alone, and we've heard a lot this afternoon on IPM and IPDM and monitoring and some really good diagnostic stuff going on. I've made a career out of a lot of those things. We've got cultural controls, resistant varieties, biological solutions, precision agriculture, and some really remarkable innovation. But the piece of the puzzle that I spend my days working on and that keeps me awake at night is the chemical stuff. And I don't like to use the word fight, but I think it is appropriate in this case. It is really an uphill battle trying to maintain the chemistry for you guys. There's people out there that disagree with chemistry. We're losing chemistry faster than we're replacing it. The agrochemical toolbox is shrinking. I'd say just in the last 18 months, we've lost 3 herbicides that are really important to many of you guys, no doubt. To the best of my knowledge, we haven't seen a new herbicide for 20 years. So that's really where we're at. Why? So there's a multitude of reasons why that's the case, and I don't have time to go through them all, but suffice to say, chemistry is under scrutiny, primarily for environmental and human health perspective. We're increasingly seeing media coverage and public debate around pollinators, waterways, biodiversity, marine ecosystems like the barrier reef, and regulators, retailers, regulators and export markets naturally respond to that stuff. Also, the pests, as we're moving away from broad spectrum chemistry like chlorpyrifos, many of the pests that were once not considered problems start sort of poking their head up and becoming real issues. And not only that, pests are expanding in their distribution. We've seen TPP in the last 12 months expand. We've seen leaf miners expand into, I think, every state of Australia now, except WA. And look, some of that stuff is scientifically justified, and I mentioned the case a moment ago, but irrespective of whether there's scientific justification or any scientific argument, that stuff certainly shapes public opinion. So what does that all mean for us here in Australia or for growers? Look, at the moment, my best guess is there's about 5,000 crop protectants registered in Australia. I haven't counted them all, but look, I'll give you a little bit of a history lesson in saying a lot of them were approved by state jurisdictions prior to the establishment of the National Regulatory Authority in 1993, now what we know as the APVMA. The part of the APVMA's responsibility is to systematically review all that old chemistry. They inherited all those old labels and approvals, and fair enough, they have to go through a process to review that stuff. So there's 5,000 of them. Obviously, they're not going to review all 5,000, so they put them through some sort of prioritisation process, and they are fairly transparent about what they're doing. There's no secrets. I do hear, the APVMA just took this away from us overnight. Other than Dactyl, there's an argument for that there, but generally they're fairly transparent. For instance, chlorpyrifos or the 2 herbicides, they've been on the agenda since the late 90s, so certainly it's been known for about 30 years. And look, the sky's not falling in. You'll see some stuff here that may be alarming when you see how much is under review. But look, in 30 years that the APVMA has existed, they've reviewed, I think, just on 100 molecules. So at that rate, they're doing about 3 a year. So look, we're not going to lose everything overnight. I'll just talk about the very immediate threats. So look, we've had some finalised reviews there. You're more than aware of Dactyl a couple of years ago now. Chlorpyrifos and diazinon were pulled. Okay, thanks. We've pulled not all that long ago, 12 months ago, and paraquat and diquat, the regulatory decisions were handed down. But look, if you take nothing away from today, the next few slides might be useful to you. The neonicotinoids are currently under review. The review is already overdue. They were supposed to start with the findings end of last year, but I think the paraquat diquat reviewers slowed them down a bit. The ones that are probably relevant to you here in the potato sector is acetamiprid, imidacloprid, or what was known as Confidor. Some people might still call it Confidor. They are under threat. I think we'll start seeing some findings on those fairly soon. Regent, or what it was known as Regent, I don't think Regent's available anymore, but Fipronil, the review is already overdue as well. So I think certainly white fringe weevil, and I think registered for crickets in potatoes is something we need to be concerned about. Longer term, this is the chemical scheduled for prioritisation at a later stage. As I said, the sky's not falling in, but they are all listed there, and many of those things you would be aware of, and you'd look at them and be a bit worried, I think. This is the medium-term threats. They've just recently updated their work program only about 2 weeks ago, so they've been pretty definitive about when they're starting these things. So look, once they get through those neonicotinoids, this is where they're going to go. So I think, I'd take a photo of that slide, would be pretty worthwhile. Dimethoate, I don't know if a lot of that would get used in potato, but certainly methamil, or what's known as lanate, will commence in 2028. Phorate, probably not a big one to you guys, probably not that practical. I think this is a huge one, chlorothalonil, or what's known as Bravo, will commence in a couple of years from now. Propagate, not entirely sure how relevant it is to that, but probably one of the big ones there across the whole sector, across all of horticulture, I'd say, would be Mancozeb, which will commence in about 2030. So look, these are ambitious timeframes. I think, as I pointed out, the APVMA is always slow, so I would expect, those dithiocarbamates to commence 2030, 2031, and maybe you would see some regulatory restrictions within about a decade. So, as I said, the sky's not falling down just yet, but something worthwhile looking at. Very quickly on the discovery pipeline, look, we've got 5 companies left really in the world doing the heavy lifting. There are, of course, some other smaller ones like Sumitomo, and you'd think these are big companies bringing out lots and lots of molecules every year, but like in reality, these companies are bringing maybe 1 or 2 new actives per year each. So it's not as big as we would imagine or like. So just where we're up to so far, we've got those 5 companies together. They might be bringing out 2 to 8 new actives per year globally. And now we've got about 45 actives subject to review at a rate of about 3 per year. I just want to emphasise what the APVMA does, because when we lose stuff, people say to me, oh, what are they replacing it with? There is no room full of people sitting there looking for alternatives saying, this is what we've got to do for the potato, guys, we've got to fix this. Like, I'm about it, we are the they. So the APVMA, really, it's a really simple job they have. They have 3 questions. Is it safe? Is it effective? And is there a genuine need? It's not their job to decide if something's commercially viable or to guarantee growers will have an alternative. That's our job, to collect the information. If we want to use something, we have to present the information to the APVMA to say it's safe and effective. Look, where do we start? It's a pretty tall order. We can't do it all at once. Look, there is these documents that Hort Innovation produces every few years for every crop group, called Strategic Agrochemical Review Process, or SARP for short. Probably the word strategic might be a bit of a misnomer. It is a bit of a data dump. What these documents try and do is to identify all the pest, diseases and weeds associated with the crop, what protectants are currently available and registered or approved in Australia, which ones are under threat for the reasons I've shown, and then doing a bit of a global search on overseas registrations or what's available overseas to identify what the future alternatives might be. The trouble is with that is they get very extensive. These are huge documents, well over 150 pages. And in the potato one alone, there's there's about 180 pest product combinations that I could be looking at. So the real challenge for me, it's a bit like picking racehorses, which is the one, So I'll implore you to sort of have a look at those. They're all on the Hort Innovation website. Hort Innovation has just done a review of its website, and it's a bit hard to find things there at the moment, Chris, but I'm sure it'll be sorted out. Look, I've been told I haven't got much time, but look, the take-home message is just please be aware of those upcoming reviews. I'm sure some of you took photos. have a look at that SARP report and help me decide, you know, where the winners are, understand the threats and what alternatives are available, but get involved, work with others. If your local guy from, you know, Sumitomo has a great idea for a new fungicide, join the dots, connect the people, come and talk to me, and we can get that happening and get involved. And look, I really need your help all the time. You know, I have to answer those three basic questions. Is there a genuine need? Is it safe? And is it effective? So anything you can do to help me will help you get those access to those actives. I think that brings me to the end. Thank you.